Check again. Elena Reyes stopped mid-step. The hallway was empty. The fluorescent lights hummed softly above her, casting that sterile, slightly flickering glow every nurse learns to ignore after enough years. But not tonight, because she was certain of one thing. Someone had just spoken. She turned slowly, scanning the corridor behind her. Empty. No doctors, no nurses, no patients wandering where they shouldn't be. Just silence. Her heart began to beat a little faster. She had just left room 312. Daniel Brooks, 52 years old. Cardiac arrest. They had worked on him for 23 minutes. CPR, epinephrine, defibrillation. Nothing. Flatline. Time of death had already been called. And yet, check again. This time the words didn't echo in the hallway. They settled somewhere deeper, inside her. Elena pressed her lips together, steadying herself. Fatigue, she told herself. It was the night shift. Long hours. Emotional strain. It happens. But something didn't feel right. And before the night was over, that single moment would become the one thing she could never explain. But to understand how Elena found herself standing frozen in that hallway, we have to go back. Just under an hour earlier, the ICU had been unusually quiet. Machines hummed in rhythm, monitors blinked their steady patterns, the controlled, mechanical heartbeat of the hospital. Elena sat at the nurse's station, reviewing charts. Room 312 had been stable, until it wasn't. The alarm came suddenly, sharp, urgent, flatline. Elena was already moving before the overhead announcement began. Code Blue, room 312. She pushed through the door. Daniel lay motionless, monitor screaming. A thin, unwavering line. Starting compressions, she called out, climbing onto the step stool beside the bed. Dr. Carter rushed in seconds later. Time? He asked. Just dropped. Let's move. Hands worked in practiced rhythm. Compression, breath, shock. Again, again, again. Minutes stretched. Sweat beaded along Elena's temple. Come on, she whispered under her breath. But the monitor never changed. Not even once. 20 minutes, Dr. Carter said. His voice had changed. Not urgency anymore. Finality. Elena's arms burned, still compressing, still hoping. Let's give one more round, someone said. Shock delivered. The body jolted, then nothing. Flatline. Unbroken. The room felt heavier somehow, like even the air had accepted what was happening. Dr. Carter glanced at the clock, then at the team. No one spoke. They didn't need to. We're calling it, he said quietly. Time of death. The words settled like dust. Elena stepped back slowly, her hands trembling just slightly now that the motion had stopped. The room shifted, from emergency to aftermath. Machines were silenced one by one, gloves removed, eyes lowered. She'd been here before, too many times, and yet it never became normal, never routine. She stayed a moment longer than the others, looking at Daniel, trying to reconcile the stillness. Just minutes ago, there had been urgency, motion, fight. Now, nothing. She swallowed, then turned and walked out. Which is how she ended up in the hallway, alone, until... Check again. The voice had been clear, not loud, not distant, close, certain. Elena exhaled slowly, pressing her fingers briefly against her temple. "You're tired, that's all." Still, her eyes drifted back toward room 312. The door was slightly ajar, the light inside dim. Everything in her training told her to move on, chart it, continue the shift, let the next process begin. But something else, something quieter, refused to let her walk away. She stood there for a long second, then another, then turned and walked back. The room hadn't changed. Same stillness, same silence. Daniel lay exactly as she had left him. Elena hesitated at the doorway, feeling almost foolish, but she stepped inside anyway. "Just to be sure," she murmured. Her voice sounded smaller than she expected. She approached the bed slowly, reached out, placed her fingers gently against his wrist, and froze. Because for a split second, she thought she felt something.
Elena didn't move. Her fingers stayed exactly where they were, pressing lightly against Daniel's wrist. Her mind raced to catch up with what her body had just felt. No, that's not possible. She adjusted her fingers slightly, more pressure, more focus. There, again, faint, irregular, but unmistakable. A pulse. Her breath caught. "Dr. Carter!" she shouted, the calm gone instantly. Footsteps thundered down the hall. "What is it?" he demanded, rushing in. I think there's a pulse." "What?" He stepped forward, grabbing for himself. Silence. 1 second. 2. Then his expression changed. "Get the crash cart back in here, now!" Everything snapped back into motion, controlled chaos, machines reactivated, orders flying. "Pulse is weak. Let's move, come on!" Elena stepped back as the team surged in again, her heart pounding louder than any monitor. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not after that long. Not after— "Stay with us, Daniel," someone said. Minutes blurred, but this time, the line moved. A flicker, then another. Beep. A weak rhythm returned. Unstable, fragile, but there. Alive. Hours later. The ICU was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet. Elena sat alone, staring at her hands. They had stopped shaking, but the feeling hadn't left. The voice, the moment. She replayed it over and over. Check again. Not a thought, not quite a sound, something in between, something she couldn't explain. Dr. Carter approached quietly. He didn't sit, just stood beside her. "I've never seen anything like that," he admitted. She looked up. "Neither have I." He hesitated, then asked, almost reluctantly, "What made you go back?" Elena opened her mouth, then stopped, because she didn't know how to answer, not in a way that made sense. "I just wasn't ready to leave yet," she said finally. It wasn't the truth, but it was the only explanation she could give, because the real answer didn't fit into anything clinical. 3 days later. Daniel Brooks opened his eyes. Recovery was slow, measured, but steady. Elena didn't visit at first. She told herself it wasn't necessary, that it was just another case, another recovery. But it wasn't, and she knew it. When she finally stepped into his room, he was awake, weaker, but aware. His daughter Lila sat beside him. They spoke quietly, gratefully. After a few minutes, Lila stepped out to take a call, leaving Elena and Daniel alone. He turned his head slightly toward her. "You came back," he said. She frowned slightly. "I was part of the team."
He shook his head faintly. No, you came back. A pause, then, there was someone with you. Elena felt the air shift. What do you mean? His voice was soft, but certain. I couldn't see clearly, but I remember. I wasn't here. Not fully. He swallowed. And there was someone standing beside you. Elena's heart began to race. He said something to you. Her throat went dry. What did he say? Daniel looked at her, eyes steady. He told you, check again. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Elena stepped back slightly. Every rational part of her mind searched for an explanation. There wasn't one. Daniel exhaled slowly. I think I wasn't supposed to leave yet. That night, Elena stood outside the hospital, looking up at the sky. The world moved as it always did. Cars passed, people walked, nothing looked different. And yet, something had shifted. She didn't have answers, not ones she could write in a chart, not ones she could explain in a report, but she had something else, a moment, a voice, a second chance that should not have happened. Sometimes the most important moments in life don't come with explanations, only with choices, to listen or to walk away. If this story moved you, take a moment to like, share, and follow Lanes and Lanterns, and tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment that couldn't be explained, but changed everything?